Mr Griffin, what do you think of Margaret Hodges' remarks?
I think they're some years too late. She's just said what we were saying 5 years ago.
But she is saying it, so presumably you agree with her?
I agree with her. Where we differ is that she's only talking about housing. She should be talking about the impact of immigration on other things as well, such as health, education and employment, and in fact on the whole identity of this country.
Keith Vaz, do you at least welcome Margaret Hodge opening up a debate, which we've just heard from ordinary voters, there's something that they're talking about, and taking it away in a sense from the BNP?
No, because that debate is ongoing and has been. For the 20 years that I've been in politics, people have been discussing these issues. Margaret Hodge is a very good friend of mine and a great champion of equality, and that's why I was very surprised that she made these comments, because there is no evidence to support what she has said. Of course there is a problem with people getting council houses because of the amount of stock there is held by local authorities, but this has got absolutely nothing to do with immigration policy. In fact, a number of the examples she cited, asylum seekers or even people coming from Eastern Europe, there are qualifications that have to be met, and indeed in terms of asylum seekers they're not entitled to jump the queue as she has suggested. So I felt that her comments were very regrettable and unhelpful and didn't really take the debate forward. I've just completed a surgery in Leicester, as I do every week, as MPs do all over the country. And nobody has said to me, even those who've been waiting for a council house for many months and many years, that the reason why they don't have a council house is because of immigration or immigrants.
Mr Griffin, it's a non-issue then?
It might be a non-issue nowadays in Leicester, perhaps, but in Barking and Dagenham, where Mrs Hodge is talking about and where we have 12 councillors, it's a huge issue. 5 years ago in Barking and Dagenham, 13% of the population were immigrants. The figure now is 30%. That's a catastrophic flood, and it's utterly transforming that place against the wishes of the locals, and that's what Margaret Hodge is worried about. She wants to hold her seat.
But people understand exactly your views, they've heard them for many years, but do you understand why the people in our film, although they were concerned about immigration, were very uncomfortable about talking about it because they do not want to be associated with you and your views? No, it's because people like the BBC have demonised the word racist, and they said about demonising us. Demonise the word racist? There's a good side to racism, is there? It's a cant term. There's no good side to racism. Well, if you mean hating people, you're doing it now. You're not letting me explain for a start. Racism was a concept invented by Leon Trotsky, a communist mass murderer, to demonise his opponents and stop people talking about certain issues. And that's been taken on by the Labour Party and by the BBC, and the British people have been cowed, so they feel they can't talk about these things. Well, I think we're talking about it tonight, actually. I would have thought... Mr Vaz...
It's about time too.
Mr Vaz, do you not think it was very unwise for Alan Johnson to say that Ms Hodge was talking the language of the BNP when we have just heard those voters in Nottingham saying immigration, it's out of control, it's disturbing, upsetting when you see your country changing, we don't recognise England? Are they all speaking the language of the BNP?
Well, that's a snapshot of what's happening in some parts of the country. The fact is that we have the toughest immigration policy that I have ever seen. If you look at enforcements, they're up over anything that I've ever experienced before. And as someone who deals with a lot of immigration cases, 90% of my caseload tonight was about immigration. I can tell you that it's very tough dealing with this government. So it's simply not true that there are hundreds of thousands of people pouring into this country, taking people's jobs and taking people's homes and going on benefits. They said that about the Asian community. They're now saying it about the Eastern Europeans, and there is absolutely no evidence to support any of those views.
Mr Griffin, when we've had Jack Straw, for example, raising his concerns about women wearing the full veil, we've had David Blunkett talking, quote, of being swamped, when we've had Anne Cryer, Labour MP, talking about immigrants who don't learn English and that's a problem, we've got Margaret Hodges' comments. This issue is not your issue anymore, is it? This is a mainstream political issue, and you're more irrelevant than you were before.
Talking about this issue is no longer just our issue because everyone's talking about it, but doing something about it, you watch. The Labour Party will talk and talk and talk, especially coming up to election times. I don't believe, unfortunately, they will do anything about it. In the end, they'll follow Keith Vaz and co, saying it's wonderful this country is being utterly transformed, and they'll ignore the millions of British people who don't believe that and who are suffering because of that transformation.
Mr Vaz?
It is wonderful that this country has been transformed, and people like your previous speaker over there sits there looking at his magazines of the far right, trying to create trouble and problems for our country. In fact, we live in a wonderful multicultural society. Of course, people are concerned about certain issues. This is a government that is very tough on immigration, and there is a debate that's been going on and will go on, and we don't need the BNP to be part of any of that debate.
Mr. Griffin?
I'd say that Mr. Vaz and his Labour Party had no democratic mandate whatsoever to do that to our people, and sooner or later the English are going to kick him out for it.
Just a final thought, Mr. Vaz. Isn't the way, if you want to sideline the BNP, isn't the way to do that to debate it in the way we're doing it tonight?
I'm sorry, I missed that last point.
Isn't the way to sideline the BNP to take control of this debate, to air these issues and do precisely what Margaret Hodge has done?
But we are having this debate. We don't need Margaret Hodge to tell us about it. Wonderful person though she is, the fact is we are having this debate. This government is actually extremely tough on immigration. It is preserving the multicultural nature of our society. It is not correct that immigration is out of control. The fact is that we are probably, in the whole of Europe, the best country representing different cultures but maintaining our traditions and our values. That's what people like your other speaker there can't believe and can't understand, and that's what he won't accept.
We'll leave it there. Thank you both very much.